Okay, I think we're live. Yes, we're live. All right. Better late than never, right? Eric, the why of money. Eric Mitchell, my Canadian friend, my Jewish Canadian friend, born in Saskatchewan. Who knew? 1 second. Now I have back noise from this. Hold on. Why of money? Put this on. Mitchell, my Canadian friend, my Jewish Canadian friend, born in Saskatchewan. Who knew? 1 second. Now I have back noise from this. I always do this wrong. Okay, here it is. There we go. We've got it. We have liftoff. Thank goodness. Okay, so I met Eric. I don't know. Actually, I do know. It was right before the supposed hurricane last year that whichever one that was, and your colleague who lives here in South Florida connected us, and we spoke literally as we were doing hurricane prep, right?
That is absolutely accurate. Yeah.
So now I think that definitely says it's a year ago because I think that was August. So
Yeah.
we met a year ago. We've done some stuff. I've referred him some clients. He's referred me some clients, which actually I just remembered I need to follow up with. So I'm writing a note. But Eric is a great guy. He really understands, obviously, since he's Canadian. He really understands Canadian aid, just like me. And he is in not as appealing a place from an investment perspective, but from a weather perspective, definitely, right? You're in where? Where in
San
Southern?
Diego, I'm in San Diego.
Oh yeah, the best. Okay,
The
that's the
best.
best weather like ever, ever,
Yep.
ever. And I would not trade that for anything. So, Eric, we're here today to talk about the U.S. banking system and how to take advantage of it and make it work for you. And I'm going to record this here. Hold on 1 second because I didn't start. We're going to talk about how to leverage the American banking system and make it work for you. Again, with my guest, Eric Mitchell, Canadian, American, international expert, cross border expert. Eric, over to you.
Yeah. So being Canadian,
Okay.
when I moved to the United States in 1999, I made an assumption that the American banking system was similar to the Canadian banking system.
Oh, no.
In my brain, a bank is a bank, right? You have checking, savings, loans, whatever. A bank's a bank. That's all I knew. And then when I got to the United States, my very first experience with a bank was very bad. It was very bad. And so my initial reaction was like, well, I'm going to be like every other American. I'm going to sue the bank because they can't do that. And then I realized I actually spoke to attorneys, and they're like,
Oh,
no,
attorneys. I know a few.
no, the banking system can do that. Like, there's nothing illegal about that. It's like, but they
Mhm.
approved me and then unapproved me for no reason. It's like, yeah, well, they're privately owned and they can do what they want. It's like, so if you're a consumer, how do you
Because there's
know?
no regulation. It's not like in Canada where you have the big banks and they're regulated, heavily regulated.
Yeah, well, I would say the banking system here is pretty regulated, but in a much different way.
Okay.
Um, and
Okay.
so I learned the banking system because I wanted to sue, right? I was trying to learn the banking system, but the more I learned, the more I realized the consumers, it's not a good system for consumers. Like, they don't know. Like, if you want something specialized, like, how do you know who to talk to, right? You go to
Mhm.
Google, good luck, Google doesn't even know, not really. And so that's kind of what pushed me into the banking system was just getting that challenged education up front. And so from that standpoint, I've spent the last 26 years learning every aspect of how all of the entire system works. And I've had a great
Oh, so
career.
you're like a
Great career.
banking geek.
That's my nickname, financing geek.
Who knew?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm very much a geek. I actually read cover to cover all of the guidelines. And so
Wow, well, that's great because that means that when I have a question, I'm going to call you.
that'd be great.
Awesome.
Some quick examples, right? So I think most people have heard of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac,
Absolutely. But
but
maybe
they don't know what they do.
actually remember, a lot of my audience is Canadian. They not may not know. So why don't you share
Right.
what that is?
Yeah, so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and there's Ginnie Mae, which is the third entity. And Ginnie Mae handles all the FHA, VA, USDA government loans. but their role is to securitize mortgages into what are called mortgage-backed securities, which are sold as bonds. And so banks don't run out of money. Fannie Mae was invented after the Great Depression, right? The banks ran out of money. How do we get out of this? They
Mhm.
created Fannie Mae to buy mortgages from banks, so
Mhm.
banks could replenish and keep doing mortgages. And so it's turned into what's called the secondary market system, where banks and lenders will lend money, sell the loans to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, replenish with a profit, and keep the system running. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae have guidelines, right? You have to fit into these boxes that will be able to be sold into the secondary market as mortgage-backed securities. Well, those boxes are really small, like really small. And so if you're Canadian and you're trying to buy a property down here in the United States, you're probably not going to fit in that box, right? Probably not. And
No.
so you might be looking for an investment property, and your Canadian tax returns can't be used by an American bank to assess your income, and then how do you use the rental income to qualify, but you're Canadian, and how do you own an LLC, but you're Canadian, and so there are real problems in the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae system. Like they won't lend to an LLC. There's a perfect example. If the borrower is an LLC, loan denied. It has to be to the individual. And so you create asset protection problems, tax problems, and so
Absolutely. And anonymity is not possible if you're owning it personally, right?
there it is. And so then you have to look at Wall Street structures. So Wall Street has created mortgage-backed security structures. And so
Did you, let's just go back a minute.
sure,
MBS. Let's explain what that is for our listeners, just real
mortgage-backed
quick.
securities are bonds. So they are bond instruments sold on the bond market, kind of like the stock market, but the bond market. And so mortgage-backed securities are bought and sold as bonds on the bond market.
Yeah, okay. That's great. I just want to, there's a lot of terminology and we assume people know, but they don't always. So let's
Well,
just make it.
the way to think about it, if you're going to be a lender and you're going to do mortgages, you're going to run out of money real fast,
Yeah,
right? You're lending millions and millions and millions of dollars real quick,
right,
and then you run out.
right.
So how do you get
But then how
how
do
do you
you
get your
leverage
liquidity
that,
back, right?
right?
So you sell the mortgages,
Mm-hmm.
either to Wall Street or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. You have to sell them somehow, some way. Uh, Typically we call it in tranches, right? You're tranching a
And
book.
that's why you can start with having one mortgage company and you end up having second and a third and it just gets assigned because it gets sold in bulk. So
So
you don't even
those are
know.
servicers, right? So those
Right,
are mortgage servicers. So yeah, so the law says that if my mortgage is sold to another servicer, my terms can't change. So there's laws to protect the borrowers. But sometimes as a servicer, I might have, $150 billion worth of mortgages I'm servicing, but I have a liquidity problem. So I need to sell off $50 billion worth of my mortgages because I have to satisfy a liquidity issue. And so now your mortgage, you get a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, thank you for being part of XYZ mortgage family. We've sold your mortgage to this other mortgage company." And then you get another letter saying, "Hey, welcome to your new mortgage family. We're going to be taking care of your mortgage." So your terms can't change, your payment can't change, nothing can change except where you send the money,
right, the pay, right.
right?
And I've been very guilty several times of not changing that and then getting notices that I'm
Yeah.
late. I'm like, wait a minute, it went there. Like, I
It's
didn't get the
inconvenient.
notice.
It's
It's ridiculous.
inconvenient, but
'Cause
very
that
much
doesn't
so.
happen in Canada, does it?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, if you have your mortgage with Royal Bank or
Royal Bank, it's
CIBC
with
or
Royal Bank.
it's
They're
with
not
Royal
selling
Bank,
it
yeah,
to
they don't
TD.
have a Fannie
And
Mae
it's
or Freddie
because it's
Mac.
of the points and the whole, it's such a different system here, everything. I remember when I first heard about points, I'm like, what is a point on a mortgage? What are you talking about?
You're buying the
Like,
rate down. Yeah,
it's right.
you're
It's
paying an
we're buying
upfront
the
fee
rate
to have a
down.
lower rate.
And also, the 30-year fixed and it's
Yep.
just everything is very different. And people think like in Canada, people are always like, oh, how come I can only get four mortgages? Because then you're considered like not credit worthy. Well, here it doesn't work like that because on if your mortgage is on an investment property, it's based on the rent rolls or the pro forma, not based on your credit. So it's just everything is just
Well,
very
that's true. Everything you said is true as long as the conduit is being sold to a Wall Street product. You can't do that if it's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac.
right, right,
Yeah,
right, right, right. Of
right.
course, because you can't.
Right.
even own it as an
So,
investment property.
but if
Or at
I'm a
least not through an LLC or a
But if I'm a
co.
Canadian or if I'm a foreign national from Europe or South America or wherever, what I think my brain would be saying to me is, well, I'll just go into Bank of America or Chase or walk into a bank and I'll get a
Right.
mortgage to buy this property as a foreign national. It's like,
Hmm.
good luck. No, you won't. That's not going to happen.
Right.
That's not who they are. That's not what they do. And so finding a resource that has the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, but they are also specialists in all the Wall Street structures. Because that's really what it comes down to. And there's catchphrases now that a lot of people have heard, like DSCR loans and a lot of other things, but most people,
Non-conforming, conforming.
yep, but
Yeah.
most people don't even know what that means, right? It's
Right. They
it's
have no.
lingo, it's lingo in our universe,
Yeah.
and
Don't worry about it. All you have
it's
to do
not
is
it's
that's
not helpful.
what you need to know.
Yeah, and so just imagine there are groups on Wall Street that what they do is they create bond instruments, meaning guidelines. And so if you look at the Fannie Mae guidelines, I'm trying to give it a simplified version of how this whole system works. So if you look at the Fannie Mae guidelines, that's the mothership, right? The Fannie Mae guidelines are, I think, 1,800 pages, right? Like literally 1,800 pages. Every conceivable scenario that's ever happened is in the guidelines. And so to do a Wall Street guide, you're probably going to create something that's more along the lines of like 16 pages, like total
Mhm.
16 pages. But then you have subnotes along saying, if I'm not addressing it here, please refer to Fannie Mae guidelines, right? And so it addresses everything, but you're chunking it down and you're making exceptions.
Mhm.
Like exception to the Fannie Mae guideline
Those.
is this if it's an investment property. Exception to the Fannie Mae guideline is this if it's a vacation home, right? If your
Mhm.
FICO score, if you don't have a FICO score, if you're a foreign national, if it's a condominium, if it's an unwarrantable condominium, blah, 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 right? And so then you've got thousands and thousands of Wall Street bond instruments being sold into the market. And so as a loan officer at Chase Bank, I don't even know what that is. Like they're not exposed to it. They're
Right. And
not
it
allowed to
doesn't
sell
matter.
it,
It's not relevant. Yeah.
not to them.
Mhm.
And so then you try and talk to a mortgage broker who's working out of their house, who's never read the Fannie Mae guidelines. That's not going to work because they don't know how to structure the deals.
Right. Right. Right.
And so what you're searching for is kind of like what you do, Lauren. Like what you do, you're the only attorney I know in the United States doing what you do, right?
I am the only crazy person doing what I
Right.
do,
Okay,
attorney or not.
but you've created a very specific niche in the marketplace,
Yes.
right? That is extremely valuable to foreign nationals that want to move to the United States and build wealth in the United States. But you've created this ability based on seeing
Of
an
an
opportunity and,
opportunity.
and and seeing a way to do it that
Yes,
nobody else saw.
that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so the same applies to what we do in that there are thousands of Wall Street conduits, Wall Street products, each with completely different niche things attached to it. And so when a consumer is saying, "Well, what can you do?" It's like, "Well, I need more information, right? Like I need to figure out which box I can put you in."
Yeah,
Right? Because as a consumer, here's what I would care about as a consumer. What's my rate? What's my closing costs? And can you close on time?
it's always numbers.
Right? Like that's the what a mortgage is about, right? What's your
Mhm.
rate? What's your closing costs? What am I going to pay to get that rate? To
Yeah, and they generally don't care who's servicing it as long as the rate is low and
That's
they're
after the
closing
fact.
on
That's
time.
after the
It
fact.
could
Yep.
be Joe Schmo up the
Whatever.
street as long as they get the money and they close on the property or get
That's
close on the
correct.
mortgage.
And but to get that, it's kind of like life insurance. Think of it like life insurance. If somebody said, well, "What do you charge for life insurance?" I don't know. Do you smoke? Are you a police officer? Do you jump out of airplanes on the weekend as a hobby? Have you ever had a heart attack? Like like there are risk factors
Hmm.
for life insurance. Well, the same applies to a mortgage, right? Is it a
Yes,
investment property? Are you a foreign national?
right.
Do you want me to go based on the cash flow of the property? Well, the cash flow of the property is going to be long-term rentals, short-term rentals? Is it a condo? Is it a single family? Like, whoa, what's my rate? I don't know. I have no idea what my rate is.
Yes, and you get those questions all the time. Or
Right. And so it's far
like, how much
better.
is it going to cost?
Yeah,
Well, I don't
so
even know who you are yet.
that's correct.
Or
like
what are you
throw
buying?
me
What's my rate? Well, it's
throw me
going to depend if
throw
you're
me a
buying a
bone.
single family home for yourself versus an investment property in Houston. It's a completely different animal.
So
So
we've automated rates and closing costs on our website as far as traditional Fannie, Freddie,
traditional, right?
Ginnie, all the traditional stuff. It's automated. It's on my website. We're punching a scenario. There's your rates and closing costs, right? It's very easy, very simple. But when you get into complex structures like what you deal with,
Very
there's no way to
complex.
automate that, right? Like it is helping one client at a time, create a solution that serves them and their family and their estate.
So, I mean, this is really great information. I think we could talk probably for like hours because there's so much,
We could.
unpacking all of these like nuances of the banking system. It's funny because I remember when I moved here, like you, I thought, oh, everything's the same. And I remember the first thing I noticed was different was post-dated checks. Remember those things?
Yeah.
Which they probably don't even have anymore, even in Canada. But I would go, like I rented an apartment or whatever, and I gave them these checks with different dates, and they're like, "What is this?" I go, "They're post-dated checks." They go, "What is a
It's a
post-dated check?"
postage check. That's
Like, I mean, and it was just like natural for me, right? And
yeah,
I
yeah.
never knew anything different. And people think, like, I think the big challenge I have with Canadians, that they realize that the healthcare system is different and the currency is different, but after that, they think everything's the same, and it ain't the same.
It's not the same.
Not the same. We are not the 51st state. And when you are coming
No,
into this country, you
it's
need to
radically
learn
different.
about what it takes to be in this country. And that is why it is important to work with people that are not just experts on America, but experts on international investors investing in America. Because at the end of the day, that is how you're going to have the right guidance. Because you may not, most people should not set up just an LLC to own property in the U.S.
That
from Canada.
yeah,
But you
that's not
won't know
enough.
that unless you deal with this on a regular
Yeah,
basis. And I
right.
remember being at a big event, Eric, in Niagara Falls, Canada, and a guy from San Diego actually was speaking on Zoom in front of this huge thing, and he said just partner with somebody and set up an LLC, or just set up an LLC and invest in property. I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad, and they're all listening and they're going and doing it, but he doesn't care what happens to you
Yeah,
in Canada because
he's
he's in
selling
San
tapes at the back of
Diego.
the room. Yeah.
And it's a very big problem. So I think that what I'm going to leave this with is, Eric, we're going to have you back another time. We're always in conversation. We're always trying to help each other. And actually, I'm going on Harry's podcast, I think, next week. So I
Oh,
love
nice.
that guy. He's a great guy, very connected. But please reach out to Eric. Eric, how do people reach you if they want to reach you directly to learn about your services and your financing options and everything?
Yeah, eric-mitchell.com, ERIC-Mitchell.
Eric-Mitchell.com.
Yep,
Okay, no
eric-mitchell.com.
K, AERIC hyphen.
ERIC-Mitchell, MITCHELL.com.
Okay.
Everything's right there.
And Eric is a good friend, a trusted colleague, a strategic advisor. He does great marketing. I really appreciate working with you. I thank you for your time. I hope that your little urgent situation was handled, and
It is.
we'll be
Thank you,
back
Lauren.
in touch. And thank you so much, Eric. A pleasure to see you.